Yeah, hi. It's just to mark where I'm going to start talking. So when I go to edit, I know where to cut.
Well, now it's going to be very confusing.
Well, now it's very in there, yeah. Okay, hello, and welcome back. We are engaged in one of our favorite activities, road tripping, and coupling it with one of our other favorite activities, going to the movies and then talking about them. And
yay!
Once again, late to the party on this review, but that's fine. Wanted to wait to see it with my girl. So odds are you've probably already seen this. So therefore, we're not going to worry about spoilers or anything like that. No. So if you haven't seen the movie and want to go see it spoiler-free, go do that. But just be aware, to our 5 loyal viewers, we're going to be spoiling things.
I mean, honestly, we're pretty spoilerific most of the time.
We really are.
I really try to not be.
It's so hard though, especially when a spoiler or something that happens in the movie affects the thematic views of it, or
exactly.
like the story structure. So it's like
exactly.
You kind of reviewing Arrival was really difficult because the twist in that is like
pretty early.
No, it's like all the way at the end.
But I mean, like, it's pretty. Anyways, go on.
But anyway, so here we are for another classic Thor review.
Another classic adventure.
As the God of Thunder is back with Thor, Love and Thunder, and I mean, it's a freaking Marvel movie. I don't know quite what else to. There's a lot to talk about, but just in terms of a basic review, it's a freaking Marvel movie. They're solid. It's going to be fun.
Oh yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, like even the worst Marvel movie is still a good time that I'm going to pay movie theater prices for.
Yeah. And like I say, even the worst one, I'll buy on physical media. I'll put it in the collection. It's gonna. Yep. I will rewatch it at some point.
Yes.
So I mean, it's a Marvel movie. If you liked any of the other ones, you're gonna go see this one.
Yes.
But this is a little bit of a different animal because the Thor movies have gone.
They've really kind of changed genres.
Yeah.
Almost. And I think it's because of Taika Waititi.
Oh, definitely. Well, what's interesting is that the Thor movies, as I'm thinking about it, I think they're the films that have had the most changeover in directors. There have been 3 different directors for the Thor movies.
What about Captain America?
Captain America, both of the other 2 were done by the Russo brothers.
Oh, that's true.
Like, Joe Johnston did the first one. And again, I think they've been smart in it. Kenneth Branagh was the right choice for the first one.
Right.
For that, to introduce us to him, to get his first, I forget who directed The Dark World, but it was one of the Game of Thrones directors. And I liked The Dark World. I don't care what anybody says.
I mean, it was, like I said, worst Marvel movie, still a great movie. But I'm not saying that was the worst Marvel movie. I'm saying that
it was still good. But yeah.
And I think that when you're introducing, so like Thor was really the first one that was like I get it, we're working with superheroes in general, but it's the first one that was really like, okay, this is taking it into the fantastical.
Yeah, well, it was the first one after Iron Man.
Well, and you really needed like the gravitas of Kenneth Branagh to be like, to take it into a serious direction. But now that we have gotten so expanded in the Marvel Universe, having someone like Taika Waititi, who is, like I was telling you yesterday, like I think for sure probably my favorite creator working right now.
Yeah, he's good.
Besides you, of course.
Oh, thank you.
So, but I think probably my favorite creator working. Like I am boycotting the Emmys once again because Our Flag Means Death didn't receive any nominations. So I think his take on it is refreshing and honestly kind of lifts the bar for what the rest of the Marvel movies kind of have to do. So for me anyways.
It definitely, and they did this with Ragnarok, but it borrows very heavily from the style of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Right.
Like, in terms of soundtrack, in terms of the visual style is less, like I say, the first one is very Shakespearean in terms of visual style. The second one is very Game of Thrones in terms of visual style. These last two have all looked like 80s album covers.
Right.
You know, and again, that's not a criticism, it's not a bad thing, just a statement of very, very different in terms of tone, visual style, atmosphere.
And it's very, it's embracing nostalgia in such a great way. And I love that it is not taking itself so seriously. Like, we've had this discussion many times. The difference between the DC world and the Marvel world is that the DC world takes itself too seriously. Like, it is too heavy, it is too dark, and it doesn't have any fun. Like,
no, they've tried.
Even the last Batman movie, which was decent, you know, I enjoyed it. I still felt like I had been, you know, subjected to a lecture.
Yeah, it wasn't enjoyable.
Right. So I'm hoping Black Adam kind of like doesn't. I like The Rock too much for him to be in something that I can't stand. But anyways, this one.
So story-wise, our villain for this time is Christian Bale as the God Butcher,
yes,
who is a member of a species whose gods literally turn their backs on him. He finds an ancient weapon that allows him to kill gods and
starts killing the gods.
Basically an evil Mjolnir.
Yeah,
basically is what it is.
Yeah, and it calls to him, it chooses him.
Yeah, and
it's another one of those. This is the thing about the Marvel villains that's really interesting is with this one and Thanos, and Warmonger, you know, you can understand their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not just villains because they like chaos, right? Like, yeah, they're making a specific choice, but you really are going like...
Well, see, that's something I've heard a lot of criticism. We may have talked about this in previous reviews. Mm-hmm. You know, that people criticize the Marvel films and say, you know, the villains aren't that good. That's because the villains aren't there to steal the spotlight from the heroes.
Right.
They are there to be what they're supposed to be, the antagonist. They're supposed to be the challenge that the good guy has to overcome, whereas the DC ones, the villains are usually there to upstage the hero.
Right.
You know, most Batman films, it's more important who's playing the bad guys than it is who's playing him.
Right. I mean, it's a very valid point, like the search for the next Joker.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, you never see memes about, like, you know, wanting to be Batman and his girlfriend. No, you know, it's always the Joker and Harley Quinn, which is problematic, and we have discussed that.
Yeah.
But,
I've always liked Christian Bale.
Yeah.
I think Christian Bale's a great actor, and
speaking of Batman, very good Batman.
And I loved his performance in this as the God Butcher.
I know.
He was really good and just very different from anything else that he's ever done.
The thing I love about Christian Bale is that, and I mean, it's probably the thing that makes him a dick to work with, but he can completely envelop himself in a character, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I look at something like, do you remember The Machinist? Did you ever watch that? Oh my gosh. That one was just, like, I still can just sit there and have thought-provoking, ruminate on that. Or even there's an old one, Equilibrium.
Yeah.
Like, man, there's so many of his characters are really thought-provoking. This one, he's literally killing his gods.
Yeah.
We were discussing this about religion a little bit when we talked about it. Like, I come from a very insular, restrictive religious background, and have done a lot of study about religion and religious trauma, and have a lot of this person who's a zealot, who is completely bought into his religious practice to the point that he's the last one alive. He's sacrificed everything, including his family, to follow this religion. And when he realizes that his religion isn't what he thought it was, just goes about taking it all apart. And I just think, especially at this point in history, when there is a lot of deconstruction of religion happening following the quarantine, I just think it's an interesting point and theme of, like, is your religion, is your faith, is your belief what you thought it was? And what do you do if it turns out not to be? Is your God flawed? Is your deity what you expected it to be? Or do you need to transform your thinking or your approach to it?
Yeah.
You know?
So there's some heavy topics going on in here, which again is the genius of the Marvel movie. I've heard a lot of people say, you know, Marvel movies are for kids, and yeah, they're popcorn films. They're there to have fun, but really, they are great science fiction in a lot of cases because they are asking very difficult questions in very entertaining ways.
Right.
Speaking of, let's go into the other dark corner here. The big selling point of this one, the big gimmick, is that Natalie Portman, after much praise to her because Natalie Portman's awesome, after telling Marvel and the Mouse to go fuck themselves a few years back, they got her back to take on the mantle of the mighty Thor from the comic book. So Mjolnir rejoins and chooses her, and she wields the power of Thor.
Right.
Which again, in terms of a basic review, I don't know what you want us to say. Natalie Portman is awesome.
She's amazing.
I mean, not just an amazing person,
but amazing man.
But one of the best actors working today, in my opinion. Clearly, and kind of like Chris Hemsworth is, she's clearly having a ball with this.
Oh yeah, like you can tell. What were we watching the other day? We caught part of Indiana Jones and
the Temple of Doom.
The Temple of Doom, and we just we turned it off because there was so little chemistry between Indiana Jones,
Harrison Ford and Kate Capshaw,
and it was painful to watch. Whereas, on the opposite side of the spectrum, here, Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth, you just are like...
I know. They work, and again, they are clearly both having, and I think this is Taika Waititi's influence on it, they are clearly both having a ball.
Oh my gosh.
With this film. And...
Chris Hemsworth is one of those guys who is, he is an excellent comedic action star.
Yeah.
And unlike the Chris Pratt, yeah, he's funny, yeah, he can do the action, but it's always with this tongue-in-cheek, I'm really a douchebag kind of flavor, and that's not...
No, I think it's the Australian thing.
Maybe.
I think it's something with the Aussies, because Hugh Jackman's like that.
Yes.
Well, I've said it on this show multiple times, and I think Chris Hemsworth is probably the best actor to come out of the find, because he's done a lot of different movies with a lot of different characters, and he was a male bimbo in the Ghostbusters reboot. He
did that one about the hotel,
the Bad Times at the El Royale, where he basically played Charlie Manson.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is multi-talented, and he's not just kind of a beefcake, and he
seems like a really good guy.
He does. He seems like a great guy, and of course having Natalie Portman back as Jane, because that was something that the first two movies were very much about the Jane-Thor relationship, and then Ragnarok completely kind of said, well, screw that, we're going this other way. And I like that they bring it back now to kind of put a nice bow on that. And
I really love that they kind of went into the demise of the relationship, why it didn't happen before, and they did it in a really good way. I think Taika Waititi is a great talent for putting a lot of exposition in a little space without it feeling forced,
and doing it in really fun ways. He does the
storytelling,
narration, using the the actors acting out the last movie.
Oh my gosh, that was
which once again, Matt Damon, Sam Neill, and one of the other Hemsworths as the actors. That is brilliant.
I love
that. I want to see a whole show about Disney Plus. You need to do a whole show about
that acting troupe,
about actor Loki and his acting troupe putting on
Melissa McCarthy. And
yes, it was.
And then Mjolnir, like on the court.
It was so good. It was like that's so funny, and I was digging it.
Yeah.
So
not enough Kat Dennings in this one, though.
No, but they brought Kat Dennings back.
Yes.
And I was happy about that. I like Kat Dennings. I like Kat Dennings a lot.
I do too. I was glad to see her in WandaVision, but they really need to. She needs more. She needs more.
They need to do. We're getting off topic, but that's fine.
Okay.
They need to do like a show with her on Disney Plus. I think it'd be great, where she kind of goes around and is kind of the new Agent Coulson.
Yeah.
And she can go and like.
Yes.
There's so many Marvel characters who aren't going to get a full show, that aren't going to get a movie, because they're just not, unless they really got to dig deep. You know, so I do a show where she kind of like, every episode she's traveling to a new place and she meets, oh look, there's Squirrel Girl, and there's 3D Man, and there's, you know, just some of these lackluster characters, and give them, you know, let her kind of, you know, I think
maybe that, and she ties in the X-Men, and there's our X-Men.
There you go.
Section. Anyways, yeah.
But so here's my thing, and we had a little. There's always one point we disagree on.
Right.
And I see where you're coming from, but I really do appreciate the lighter tone.
Right.
And I do appreciate the more fun. But I do think, especially in this one, which is funny, is I feel like the stakes are higher in this one than they were in Ragnarok, where the entire world was going to be destroyed.
Right.
But I feel like at certain moments in this film, the lighter tone took away from the seriousness of the situation that they were in. There's this whole middle chunk where they go to Omnipotent City and meet Russell Crowe as Zeus, who's literally only there to introduce Hercules for future movies. And it's this very jaunty, haha, we're here, oh, we're going to raise an army, la la la, after all the Asgardian kids have been kidnapped. They've shown that this villain can kick all of their asses and murder them, and yet there didn't seem to be any, you know, any seriousness or urgency to the mission. We're just here, oh look, all of Thor's clothes are gone.
No, see, I definitely disagree with that, because you had Tessa Thompson sitting there, like, you had Valkyrie sitting there going, okay, now, are you going to do it now? And Thor's like, no, wait, you can't interrupt him. And I think that tied into the theme of, that was his god, his hero, his role model, and he was flawed.
I'm not saying it doesn't tie into the theme. I'm saying that tonally, there's a drastic mission that needs to be accomplished, and it felt like that entire middle chunk, while entertaining and thematically relevant, it felt like the importance of the mission was very much lost for that chunk.
I didn't feel that. I didn't have that same reaction to it. And and this is this is my perspective, is the heaviness of the mission needs to be balanced by the same level of lightness too. So like when you're talking about cancer, you're talking about the death of loved ones, you're talking about losing your family, loneliness, the death of your gods. And so you need Thor's clothes to fly off so that you have that, balance to the light and dark.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. You need that levity. You need those moments to help. Otherwise it becomes the Batman.
Right.
If you don't. So no, I agree with that. I just feel that whole section got a little too clown nose and big shoes.
I felt like,
you know?
there were parts of it, like, I do think that the Thor, or not the Thor, the Zeus entrance and all of that, I think there was too much with that.
Yeah.
I think it got a little murky there, but it was also, it didn't get murky enough for me to dislike it.
Again, I didn't dislike it. I'm just saying that if I'm being honest as a objective critic,
Right.
saying I think that middle section, and again, to me feels like that middle section was primarily there just so they could introduce Hercules for later films.
I don't know though. Okay, because in my perspective,
but it does tie in with the theme. You make a good point.
Right, and I think that it gave the understanding to Thor, it helped him understand the God Butcher more. It helped him understand, Christian Bale's character more, because his role model, his God, he saw that flaw. And he ended up having to, he didn't kill him, but he basically had to take down his own God. So, I think that it served a purpose.
You make a good point. Again, thematically it does fit. I just feel like they needed a little bit more gravity of what their mission. It felt like the mission was on hold for that whole section, so that we could do more goofy stuff. That's all I'm saying.
I would argue that Valkyrie and Jade kept pushing him to have more gravity, and then it eventually hits Thor. I think there was gravity. I think that Thor had to catch up to it. So, anyways, but yeah, that was good. I honestly, you were there with me. I felt like the pace was good enough to accomplish what it needed to, which by the end was me sobbing into my popcorn.
It had, in terms of pathos, I think it had some of the best in the MCU. I'm thinking I'm trying to think of a film or even one of the Disney Plus shows that by the end,
maybe WandaVision,
but where you not only were weeping over the fate of one of your heroes, but also over the fate of the villain.
Yeah.
Where this is good writing, good directing, and great acting from Christian Bale, of just making you really feel for him.
Yep.
That he wasn't a bad person initially.
Right.
And that he does the right thing.
Right.
In the end, knowing that it can't save his soul, but it can save someone else's.
Right.
Yeah. So, and for those who don't know, just again, you should see. This follows very closely the storyline of the Mighty Thor series from I forget what year it was, where Jane became Thor, but the gimmick being that Jane is dying of cancer, and every time she becomes Thor, the cancer is gone, but every time she reverts back to Jane, it's made it worse.
Yep.
So,
right. Which did, probably one of my favorite things about this was the relationship between Jane and Valkyrie.
Oh yeah, there was a good.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you call that. Girlmance? What do you call that when you have two?
Friendship.
Okay, so how come that can be true for women, but when guys do it, it's got to be a bromance?
But I think that, if there was anything missing in the Marvel Universe, that is it. Is women's relationships.
That is fair. That is fair.
You get a lot of male platonic friendship, but not a lot of female platonic friendship, and I think that was really,
that is true.
Really awesome. To see that interaction between the two of them, I love that. I would definitely watch a TV series between Jane Foster and Valkyrie.
Yep. Which you could get.
Theoretically, yeah, because she's in Valhalla.
She isn't in the comics. After she dies as Thor, spoiler, she does come back as a Valkyrie.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible you could get a Valkyrie. I want a Valkyrie Jane series, and I want a Tobey Maguire Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man series, where they just swing around solving groovy mysteries. You know, they had great chemistry.
And like the tell me the guy with the eyes name. The guy with the eyes. Idris Elba's.
Oh, Heimdall.
Heimdall's son, like Axel, his like back and forth with Thor, and like that was really great too. The kid actors in this was pretty amazing.
They had that was one of the most awesome things ever. Yeah. That final battle.
I loved that.
He gives them all the power of Thor in their weapons, and the one girl has her stuffed bunny, and she's shooting lightning out of the bunny's eyes.
Like, it's magic wand.
It's like that's freaking awesome.
That was pretty amazing.
I mean,
I loved it. It was very, you know, every girl has a slayer.
Yeah.
But it was like I really did enjoy that. Yeah, I think I would be hard pressed to find something non-enjoyable about this. Like, I enjoyed the villain, I enjoyed the hero, I enjoyed the storyline, the whole deal with the catchphrases.
Yeah, there was just a lot good in this, you know. And nothing I would classify as bad so much as just things that made me kind of go, I might have done that differently, but on the whole, it's a nitpick, it's a gripe, it's a, you know, I left the film having had a great time.
Right.
You know, and what more can you ask from a Marvel movie or any other movie?
Seriously, like, so it was very enjoyable. And one of the things we discussed this morning is this is one of the movies, or one of the steps that Marvel has been taking into a more diverse Marvel universe. And that has just been so cool to watch. You know, like, you have the female Thor, you have Thor's daughter.
Yep, he has an adoptive daughter.
You have, and then like female Hawkeye, and you know, Black Captain America,
and soon a Black Iron person.
And then what the Doctor Strange America, like having a female Hispanic, you know, superhero, Miss Marvel, you know, like this
Moon Knight,
having this movement into a more inclusive and diverse MCU is just so exciting.
Yeah.
You know, like, I love that. I love what they are doing here. You know, and the thing is like, you have these. We talked about the toxic fandoms where it's gatekept. But when you're talking about people who are inclusive and people who are, you know, getting more diverse representation, they're not gatekeeping that.
No.
You know, they're like, come on in and join us and see how exciting this all is.
Yep.
You know? And I love that. I can't wait to see, like, Black Panther and the next I'm so excited about the Black Panther movie coming out. So, yeah. So Marvel keeps trucking along, new things coming, and yeah, here for it. Enjoying it. Fresh.
Yeah. They're keeping it fresh, keeping it new, and yeah, digging it. All right, so let's wrap this one up, because I don't think, unless there's any other major points we need to make. So, final grade for you for Thor: Love and Thunder.
I gotta go A+. You know, I was thinking about doing just an A, but I gotta say, when you've got that many Guns N' Roses songs, I gotta go and say an A+.
All right, well, I'm, as always, a little bit more conservative in terms of my grades, but not by much. I'm going a solid A on this one.
Nice.
Solid A. I had a great time. The character's still fresh. Everyone's having a great time. Taika Waititi is a phenomenal director and writer, and I love his stuff.
And it's amazing.
And yeah, it gets you excited for what's coming next. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. All right, but we're not done yet. Bonus round, bonus material, because we're going to review Bob's Burgers. So there's a story. So we went and saw Bob's Burgers earlier in the summer.
Like the beginning of June.
Yeah. We reviewed it. We're driving, we're reviewing it. We happened to be reviewing it on one of the hottest days of the summer
right.
in Iowa.
It was like 100 and something degrees.
And the phone sitting on the dashboard had overheated and shut down literally right as we were going to get to the grades.
Yes.
Like we talked for almost 20 minutes. I know that upsets one of the people who badmouthed me on Love and Tyranny, that I could talk for an hour on Doctor Strange, but only 20 minutes on Love and Tyranny. I'm sorry, but you know, we talked for almost half an hour, and the thing cut out right when we were going to the grades. So what we're doing here is just so it is still eligible for end of the year rankings. Real quick rundown.
We have very strict guidelines.
That is the only guideline I have, really, is that I have to have reviewed a movie for it to be eligible for the end of the year rankings. That's the only guideline I have, really. So just so it has that eligibility, real quick, running. We're not going to do the whole review, not going to do the whole thing, but real quick, what were your thoughts on the Bob's Burgers?
So I thought it was entertaining. Basically a supersized episode. One of the things that we discussed in our review was that it didn't really do like a big splashy plot. It was basically one that you would have seen in an episode. But the thing about Bob's Burgers as a TV show is that they do kind of have intricate plots in their TV shows. So I didn't really mind that. I felt like it got plotty and slow in some places. And I actually wasn't a huge fan of the better animation.
That wasn't either. That's what Matt said.
Yeah, like I kind of wish that they would have cut the more crappy animation for the movie. But okay, and you...
Okay, so basically the same thoughts. We love Bob's Burgers, a supersized episode, so if you like what they do in the show, you're gonna like this. But again, I go the opposite way as you and other folks, in that I'm thinking that if I'm gonna go see something called the movie, it means that they have to offer me something
bigger,
larger, and something I'm not gonna get on a weekly basis. You know, just quick examples. I was really proud of these examples, so I'm gonna use them.
Yes. You're gonna have to get over here.
The Muppet movie. The Muppets go outside and interact with the real world. There you go. The South Park movie. It's literally called Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, where they actually swore as opposed to having anything beeped out. The X-Files movie. You finally see the aliens and supposedly get answers. You know, it doesn't have to be anything major, but it has to be something more than what you get on an everyday episode of the television show, which is basically what we got. So,
and I would argue that none of those movies were actually any good.
you would argue the Muppet movie is not any good?
No.
Oh.
Okay, no. No. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I love the Muppet movies.
I will argue the opposite point, that all those movies were quite good.
So,
but
and this is, you know, humor is always where.
Yeah, and you just need. It doesn't have to be anything huge. Like Bob, a couple of things. Bob gets successful.
Yeah, but
there
then you would have to take it away from him.
Which is what they did in the Charlie Brown movies, which works. It works with a character like Bob. Okay, have them actually lose the restaurant in the beginning, and then the rest of the movie is them getting it back. Because that's always been the thing hanging over their heads. Or
it's the next one. Sorry, we're
navigating. What's that GPS? Or, you know, like we said, Mr. Fischoeder opens a thing in Europe and sends Bob and the family over to Europe to do something. So they're in Europe making mischief. Just something that is different from what we normally get.
My problem with it was in the villainry. Like, I mean, there was no stakes because it was like, oh, well, this is a very minor character.
Okay, even like what they did.
Of course he's the one who's going to be...
Yeah, even like they did. Like, we were talking, you know what would have worked, and I don't know when they made this as a result or in relationship to when it actually happened, but they've written Jimmy Pesto out because
the voice actor participated in the insurrection.
Yeah. So instead of doing a murder mystery about a character we don't know, never met, where the answer is somebody we don't give a shit about, have someone
literally kill Jimmy Pesto.
Literally kill Jimmy Pesto. Think about that. Who would be the number one suspect if Jimmy Pesto died?
Well, it'd be Bob for certain.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there you have it, and then make the actual killer one of the characters we already know, so that it actually is a shock.
Which, I mean, and I think that one of the problems with that would be, okay, how do you deal with Jimmy Jr.'s grief? But I think that could be something that you explore.
Exactly.
I mean, Bob's Burgers has never shied away from serious topics.
No. So, I mean, there's I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was Bob's Burgers. So you love Bob's Burgers. You love this. But Bob's Burgers, the movie, this is 4 episodes. It's the season finale stretched into a full-length episode.
In fact, like when we were doing the actual review, I had to remember, okay, did this happen in the movie or was this in the season finale?
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. So do you remember what your final grade for it was?
I think I was a B. Like, enjoyable, glad I got to watch it, was nice, but meh.
I think mine was a B minus.
Yeah.
For all the reasons we've already gone into.
Right.
So there we go. Those are the high points, so it's eligible for the end of the year rankings.
Yes.
So, all right. So there you go. Thank you for joining us for this special, supersized edition of Drive Home Reviews. And yeah. So thanks for joining us. Thank you, my love.
Thank you, my darling.
And yes. And we will see you next time. So as always, drive safe, and we will see you at the movies.